So first of all, is it obligatory to wear that mask as a speaker here? Just curious.
Officially, yes.
Well, since we're broadcasting, I guess it's more or less official, so I will leave it on. It's just somewhat. I like so mimics and it's just more vital without it, you know. I don't want to get in jail or something or be banned from Stanford forever. So perhaps then this feels much better. So, but please just give me a hint if I just put it back on, I will. So it's quite a pleasure to be here and to talk with you the next 30 minutes, well, about our company, but especially I would say on philosophies and strategies and how to understand IC. What is IC in our regard and how can you lever in regard to using the possibilities of the concept of industrialized construction, taking it one step further, and of course harvesting on all those technologies which are out there, which will change and shape the future of our industry. So I think I could stop with my, oh, sorry. So I think I could stop with the whole speech by just, you know, elaborating on this first sentence, which you see there. Buildings as a holistic product service ecosystem. And so thank you for listening. No, it's really like this idea, what is driving us. A building is just not like something which happens on a construction site, but the building is starting with the general idea of a customer's needs and then following through to the construction side and then taking it all the way into the operations phase and perhaps in a sort of refurbishing it, refitting it or recycling it. So, and in between a lot of stuff happens and a lot of stuff can be challenged and tackled and improved by using, say, the concepts of automation and what we would say being part of industrialized construction concepts. So you see now this is a situation that fortunately is not happening too often in Germany, but I think some of you might have been confronted with this sort of stuff. You see these tiny headlines which are hidden in that storm, but that's currently the situation. Oops, will it work? Yes. So basically, what does that mean? Which situation do I mean? It's the threatened planet. I don't have to explain that. I guess so. It's fragile supply chains that we are all experiencing now, and some branches or lines of business more than others. It's the increasing material prices all over the world. It's a stagnating productivity, which is not a current problem, but being stagnating, that's like ongoing for the last, say, like ever. The lack of skilled labor, which this labor shortage has not improved throughout the last years. And of course, we have new technologies which are introduced by other companies, by other industries. And of course, customers say, like, these are great technologies. We want to experience the benefits of these technologies. So please include them in your buildings. So that everything adds up to like exponentially increased complexity. So that's a sort of perfect storm scenario. And everything is hitting us as an industry who was far from agile over the last decades or like ever. So it's really like a situation where you say, this is not a great time to be in the construction industry, is it? And I'd say, yes, it is, especially here at this forum. I think we're the guys and girls who can tackle these problems with the concept of IC. If you take the thought of industrialized construction somewhat further, I think we are have the benefit of using today's technologies and really tackling all of these issues that I just referred to. And why? I think I will get to that a little bit more in detail when I'm explaining like our vision, the mission, and then how to do it actually within the next couple of minutes. So this is not like a commercial about Goldbeck. So this is just like describing about what we do. You can say it's wrong or right, but it's just like a sort of philosophy statement, I'd say. So, and as I said in the beginning, it's this holistic life cycle approach. It's not what, say, taking IC further is just reducing the C or changing the C into a B. Like it's not industrialized construction, industrialized buildings, industrialized life cycle. because our vision is really to delivering the best customer value from an integrated perspective. That's hard really for engineers and architects to realize. I always say like that the customer does not interact with you because he likes to interact with you. He does not. He does that because you're a means to an end, or sometimes a necessary evil. There are a lot of projects where you turn out to be the necessary evil. That implies, what does the customer really want? He wants to experience a great operations phase. He wants to live in a building, to dwell in the building, to park in a building, to work in a building, and the building shall inspire him, give him services. That's what the customer wants. So it's really great if you're a construction company, think about what's going on in operations and integrate that in your buildings, integrate that in your design and in your overall product that you have as an industrialized construction company. So, and then of course, the vision to reach that is just harvesting on the big opportunities which are currently out there due to technology, and that's automation opportunities. And if you look at the life cycle of a product, it's really, you can really go into cross value chain innovation, because that's what technologies allows us today. So every sort of design trade is corresponding with another design. So it's the design, initial design with execution design, with M&E and HVAC, then it comes to the production of elements, it's the assembly of elements, arranging the trades, then going over to have like, say, the digital operations of a building. So everything is interacting with everything. And the fun part is just looking at the interfaces and looking at what does my optimization imply for the steps to the left and to the right of my value chain. So my value chain partners, that gives you a high level of possibility for innovation now. So what's the mission then? Looking at this holistic vision, the mission, I think for us, it's fourfold. Well, you can choose as many dimensions as you'd like, but in this regard, I'd say it's four main points: controlling the design, industrializing the production, then taking it to the construction site, managing and even I'd say redefining your supply chain, and then taking it to all the way to the Apple approach of creating a product service ecosystem, which is possible. And of course, also a construction company can make use of these principles. So controlling your design is something that is sounds horrible to some architects, because it's like the construction companies control the design. What the heck? It's just not possible, because this will result in crappy buildings. It will not, but it will, of course, make the design approach a lot more feasible, reliable, and of course, faster and more cost efficient. What are typical ways? I don't have to get too much into details, because you know a lot about that. I think here, just one example, Ian might be smiling now. Where's Ian? From Hyper, because we did that with Hyper together, just, you know, doing these generative approaches to initial design pitches. So you just choose a property, a ground, and then basically all the regulations are underlying, and then you can do with the generative design different layouts, and eventually, of course, different scopes in regard to dimensions, and then perhaps even rapidly going into something that we call originally called the Goldbeck Tinder, but I think that was registered trademark, so which actually switched into Goldbeck Design Finder, so it's pretty similar. And what does that mean? This is just like, currently it's a gimmick, but it will transform into be a very powerful initial design tool. Something original idea, quite easy. You have mood boards as an architect. If you just go for digital mood boards, you just swipe what you like. You just create your preference set. And I think it was said at one point of time that once an algorithm knows more than 200 likes, he knows you like better, what your next decision would be than your wife. So it's really something powerful with these matching algorithms. So once you go into that, it's easy to think of a world where an AI can help you with actually finding out what the customer would like, and initially really propose something where he said, dude, how do you know that this is completely my idea. I 100% buy into it. And of course, once you get that in an early stage in the project, it's very likely that the customer will go with you all the way, because he knows, he understands that you're understanding him. He's got this deep, yes, right, these guys know that. So that's will be in future a very powerful tool. So once now you have all sorts of say algorithms, automations, computational designs that we're already using, from getting from A to B faster, finding abbreviations. Initially, you'd think this results in, say, nasty buildings, but just showing you some of the typical buildings which are not completely automated in design, but partially at least, which are completely within our system-based, product-based approach. You see, it's not like something where you say this is like bad architecture. It's really every detail can be predicted or preempted, because it's part of the system. So you've got all those detailed solutions, you got the grids, you got everything works. That's the good thing. You will not have so many surprises. And then taking office buildings, this office building is 100% system-based, but you just put this architectural concrete facade in front of it, and hey, then it just looks quite, I would say, unique. You get those twisted concrete facade rods there, so quite some nice detailed architecture aspect. So this is a very, very standardized affordable housing pitch, and you just kind of pimp it up by using like those wooden balconies. And also this is possible for us just to switch between, if the customer wants to have a normal, say, concrete based non-load bearing wall structure, or you just can instantly change it into, say, timber-based non-load bearing wall structure. So both is possible, and both is within the boundaries of the system. So, and this, another point, just this is our office in Frankfurt. It's also quite nice from the outside, but the inside is like, say, a sort of generated new work approach, where we just leave out a lot of walls, include a lot of, say, flexibility features nowadays. I think the interesting point I want to make, what I said earlier, if you really want to be focusing on the customer's use in terms of operations, you really, for an office, for example, have to think about all those new work features. What's a building? When do you feel well in a building? You want to transform your world from, say, home office, which is, well, we had to do that, but actually it puts quite some boundaries on creativity, that people don't just meet up and mingle and are creative. It's the funny thing about Microsoft Teams, that it does everything, but it does not create teams. It's just, and this does create teams. This on the left, on the right side, your right side there, you see, this is like a bar, a gin bar. We just said we're a family-owned company, so we can do that without getting into compliance problems. But it's like a place where you feel well, so you transform home office into, say, office home. That's what you deliver as a value, also in regard to interior design for your customers, and they don't expect that from an IC company. If you can elaborate on that, of course, you create customer benefit. So now, of course, now getting a little bit more into tech, it's about next-gen configurators. Now, this is a multi-level car park, one of my most beloved products, because it's so simple in regard to structure. It's so easy to really put that into algorithms. And now we got actually 78 parameters to get a ready for production parking garage. I'm talking about ready for production, including like G-code and the rebars, everything's included in this model once you do that. And of course, usually reality is more complex than that. So, but that's okay, because you then just take this as a proposal to work with, and then you take it to the next step. Yeah, so it's quite easy now to include a beautiful facade, to change some geometrical features, and then you're there, resulting in car parks, for example, like this, which is in Frankfurt at the airport, or like this, which is in the metropolitan city of Bielefeld, where our headquarters are. Or like this is also in Bielefeld. This is the facade from Schüco, quite, say, on parametric design, I think beautiful thing. Also in terms of illuminations, you can do a lot of funky stuff with that. So that was fabric. So it was not like steel, but fabric. And now this is the quality of the picture is not that great, but the project itself is like the second project that we actually won in France. Just by the way, going to France is not that easy because in France, fire behaves differently than it does in Germany, at least according to the regulations. And so welcome to Europe, one unified Europe. No, it's not. So you got to really take care always of all those regulations. So this leaves a lot of room for inventions in regard to innovations of startups to include the rules into your generative or computational design. It's not so easy, but of course the challenge you have to meet. Or this, yeah. So now, just taking it from design to production. So yeah, basically the idea is always to look for abbreviations. How can you, as rapidly as possible, get to shop drawings or even G-code? This is a picture from our production facility. And of course, we got some robots going on there, not enough, I guess, yet, but we're working on that. Having a huge investment program for the next years to set up new, highly optimized factories. But of course, the core of industrial construction or industrial production is always to say, because you have a system of a building, it's easier to derive the next, say, design step, the more detailed derived step from the former one. So this is the way in order to be more rapid, be more precise, and of course use the opportunities that you have in an industrial environment. Of course, industrial environment always implicates that you're weatherproof, that you have a controlled environment. You can go for your continuous improvement process. You can easier than on construction side establish lean processes. But I mean, of course, you're industrialized construction fans, so you know about these advantages. But it's sometimes not so easy to talk with people from the, say, archaic construction industry and architects about these advantages, because this craftsmanship on site is something which has emotional value to some people. I wouldn't be so emotional about that, because this is just stuff that creates customer value and speeds up the construction process. So it's just reasonable to establish that. And just one remark. Yes, this is asset heavy approach. Yeah, I know that there is, yesterday evening we talked about this change after I call it the Katera incident from asset heavy to asset light. We 100% buy into asset heavy. Yeah, that's our philosophy. We like to control the production. We like to have it. We like to innovate ourselves and work with the production to change our ways of production, to introduce new machines in production. You can only do that when you control that process. But then again, I 100% understand this asset light approach that some of you have, because you have to start somewhere. And if your burn rate is like a couple of $1 trillion per month, then most likely sometime you will be run out of funding, which is then something that is not so pleasant to experience. So yeah, perhaps in the future, for those of you with the asset light approach, it is just a path of evolution from asset light to asset heavy. Asset light kicks you off, allows you to, go into your products, just get them better and better. And then sometimes you can, at a certain point of time, you can change into your own production facilities. So now we've come from the production of elements in an industrial environment to the construction side. And of course, the construction side itself is now offering, Martin, you said that it's now offering a lot of possibilities to really interact with robots. And we're just at the starting point. It's really, really early in that regard. I don't think there are a lot of, real robots or robotish approaches which work on day-to-day projects. So we're in the world of the big showcase thing, where people say, oh, I've used this and that robot. It's like, I can't really stand the sight of Spot anymore, because every construction company, including us some time ago, and say, hey, we're working with Spot. It's like, yeah, but what does he do? How does he improve your process? You take some pictures. Yeah, couldn't you do that? It's like with your own camera and stuff. Is that like perhaps now the better way? Yes, it is. But this is like one situation. Of course, having Spot as the carrier of a, say, reality capturing device would make sense in future, but perhaps it's then at a certain point of time drones. But I mean, these evolutionary steps are about to happen. It's really important for you guys to think of what technology will result in what sort of value chain change for you and your business model, and what can you do with that? That's really what we always ask ourselves. What can we do with the technology that is upcoming now, but will ripen over the next years? And I mean, we've saw some fantastic robot companies, of some of you are around here, where you say, yeah, these are short before really implementing. It's a short time before really being able to implement them on a normal construction site. And there is one sentence here, leveraging on the digital delta by robot pioneering. What does that mean? A digital delta is what I say is, I mean, for construction, you really have this, in my philosophy at least, the situation that you start to create a model and every step will take you to have more data in your model. And it's initially it's a target model, how construction life shall be, how the product shall be, how the design shall be, how operations shall be. And at a certain point of time, of course, you will also use reality capturing. So you have a real-time digital twin. And so you have two digital worlds, like a digital target situation and a digital current situation. And therefore, you can really have this digital delta, which gives you a lot of transparency in your project. So you have really the possibility on a very granular level to parallelize processes, to really be quite reactive and agile once things occur that you didn't want to occur. So that's the digital delta. That's also like this space is needed by robots to really be able to orient themselves in this world. And of course, once you have really like a tight control on your side using all those technologies, you can really go for this, say, automotive-like shop floor lean management approach, which is also something which is in here and in Berkeley, of course, this last planner lean philosophy, of course, something that really helps you to be a lot more efficient than those current rather chaotic construction sites that we see all around the world. So now we're almost in the, say, in the operations phase, but not completely, because there is something like subcontractors and or partners. I'd like to call them partners, because subcontractors is such a those who lead and those who follow. We're in it together sort of thing. And so I said, manage your supply chain and redefine the value creation in the construction industry. What does that mean? Once you scale up, you have the possibility to do the typical, say, digital game of cutting out the middleman. We already currently still have the situation that we have the producer of a technology or of a material, then we have the wholesale guys, then we have financially weak trade craftsmen, and then we have you, the general contractor. And in between, it's margin adding, margin adding, margin adding. That's just not, it's not adding customer benefit. So once you define your product, once you know what's going to be in it, you can really go for scale powered procurement. So you just buy not for this warehouse like 10 loading docks here, but you buy 6,000 for the next 2 years. That really does something once you're in purchasing negotiations. Try it, it's fun, yeah. But it's really like shifting the game, because you have to organize how then these loading docks and dock levelers are really arriving on the construction site and how they are really implemented in the project. And you will find out that there are a lot of barriers from people who say, also your own people, this will not work. Also because this is a little bit taking the power, the decentralized power of a project to a centralized sort of approach. And this is always the tipping point. What do you decentralize? What do you centralize? But of course, using scale-powered procurement is a situation that big OEMs in the automotive industry have leveraged on ever since. And I think that really kicked off the efficiency of the automotive industry. And looking at these efficiency curves, how our construction industry improved and automotive, well, it's self-explaining then, if you know what I mean. And here is also this OEM tier 1 supplier development partnership, what I'm saying, like, it's the same situation. If you're sort of construction OEM, you have the possibility, for example, our neighbor Schüco, with which we work together, they do the aluminum profiles for windows. And we said, hey, don't give me your catalog. Please don't give me your catalog. I don't want to buy anything from your catalog, but come to our production facility, come to our construction sites and think about how we do everything. And now try to think with us, what would be the optimal window for our needs? Because a product is always a sort of the smallest common denominator. If you go for an individualized, say, construction product, then you will have individualized solutions, which you then can scale. So the end result was that we got the profiles now 17% cheaper with better quality. And I think Schüco was quite happy, at least when I talked last time with the CEO, he was smiling in regard to this contract, this frame contract that we have now. So this is really like this typical OEM tier one supplier partnership in terms of design to value, design to cost, what is lacking in our industry because we don't have this product approach. And by the way, this one here back on the right side, you see this is an energy central station, which we just defined and have, say, a sort of a standardized energy stuff with the different components. And we just pre-produce that, have always the same components in it, and just put it on the site, install it, and then the energy system of the building is working. Now, of course, if we're in the world of buzzword bingo, we just have to tackle AI. And so I just say an AI, so it's just to have said it, yeah. No, actually, it's somewhat more to it because we actually use, for example, Autodesk 360, so, and all other documents like being that Word documents, like letters, like emails and stuff. And we basically taught, we created a sort of AI by just creating our own punch list dictionary. So it's about relations of things, under, over, broken, wet, whatever. So once you teach that to an algorithm and then you can apply it to the documents, either the punch list from the 360 or your emails or whatever, then this AI is like a data crawler, just looks at it and just takes it and puts it in the database, and then you can do heat maps, quantity analysis, and then you can see where it's more red. Of course, the count is higher. Pretty simple thing, but then again, it's pretty powerful because then you know trade by trade where do your typical issues occur. And then if you put that in reference with costs that will cost to you and time delays, you really have a good analysis where you have room for improvement. And that is something just fact-based. It's nothing than too academical. It's just fact-based where you have your issues. So now we're just in the world of operations, what I was talking about. Just to give you an input in regard to what we do have the facility services, property services, parking services, refurbishment services, tenant fit out, everything we can do. Actually, it's not about big revenue and not about big margins. If you know facility management, it's compared to other industries, it's a lot of tedious small stuff. Guys think in screws and maintenance of heating systems and stuff, but we actually like to have that included because then it really gives us knowledge on how the customer behaves, what he wants in the operations phase. So our goal is really to stay. This is the typical, say, product service ecosystem of, say, like enter the world of Goldbeck, then enjoy it, obviously, because it has services, it offers value, it reduces the energy consumption, it gives you hints how to reduce your space as a customer without overcrowding the buildings. And then, of course, once you enjoy it, you'd like to expand. So there will be the next project. There will be the next, say, refurbishment, the next fit out. There will be his needs to change his buildings in regard to new ESG regimes, whatever. And guess what? If you stay on the lap of the customer and if he enjoys it, then he will most likely work with you together. So we call that plus, the Goldbeck plus word, where we say a certain set of, say, normally services, facility service that have to be bought at the free market, normally we give for free. in order to say, I wouldn't say lure the customer into our operations and say staying together world, but to give him an incentive to try out being together with us during the operations phase. So now, Martin, that is exactly what you said in the introduction. This is like our approach to the leveraging on the balance between this pioneer spirit and self-constraint. What do I mean with that? If you look at for example, if the new builds, it's industrial buildings, school buildings, offices, now affordable housing, only B2B, by the way, multi-level garages. So, but that's it. It's no skyscrapers, it's no power plants, it's no highways, whatever. You can just, there is an infinite amount of buildings that we will not build because we're not good at it. And if we interact with a customer, we should have this really being self-conscious and just being there. It's like, we can offer value because what we do better than others. And what we don't do, well, you can do with others. So, and then of course we have this creativity and diving into new technologies, but also expanding, say, our impact or footprint on the value chain. So that's what you see here. So in the end, I'm about to be ready now, so don't worry in terms of timing. It leads us to a sort of, say, very comprehensive digital thread. Why? Because it's possible and we can generate value with that. That's what I called with this thorough digital path. What does this path lead to? I call it a predictive anything world. Once you have this model, which is ever so strong in regard to data that you just put additionally into it during the project, you have a complete comprehensive set of data. You have not only, of course, physical data, but also you have costs, you have effects on timing. Basically, everything is monitored. And once you do have that for a lot of projects, of course, you can go into a typical, say, predictive world, because you said, given a certain set of parameters in a project, you actually, an algorithm can come up to you, say like, hey, in former projects, project managers who faced this set of parameters went into a situation with a lot of, say, opportunities or threats. So there were additional costs or there were additional possibilities for savings. And please consider that. I will not prescribe what you got to do, dear human being, but you have to consider that this set of parameters promises or say indicates some possible futures, and please elaborate on that, make your choices. That's the predictive anything world. It can be done predictive design, predictive construction, project management, and of course, predictive maintenance. So I'll not go through that because that's somewhat would take me would take the time frame and bash it now because we're almost done. But of course, then this basic sentence here, it is comprehensive data collection as in every other industry who was digitalized. One good thing and one bad thing about this construction industry is it's really hard to digitalize a lot of process because it's very interdependent and you have that nasty reality. But the good thing, of course, nobody else really harvested on it like the Google, the Facebook, the Tesla, whatever. So it still leaves you a lot of room for entrepreneurial activities because we are not there yet. We now have the tools in hand, and then I hope a lot of you will be quite successful by using that. Now to this almost last slide, of course, it's also in terms of ticking the boxes, it's about sustainability. Once you have a system, a product, it's a lot easier to arrange all the complex requests for ESG solutions within your product without having to do in-depth, difficult analysis. It's just it's product inherent. So we just say, okay, due to this situation, we know exactly where we have our carbon flows and whatever. On a corporate level, we will be carbon neutral by 2023. And then we go from scope 2 to scope 3, which will be, of course, somewhat more aggressive then, because it includes all the materials, but we hope to reach that also before 2030. Yes, it's costly, but then again, if you have a sort of, say, acceptable margin in your company, you can take that margin and actually do something like that. Also, of course, with some compensation issues, of course, but I think it's just a good sign, and the customer eventually will reward this very, say, broad approach and bold approach. So, but don't, just one last sentence, don't forget in ESG, people always forget the economy. It's not about just spending an infinite amount of money on sustainability. And that's the big advantage of industrialized construction. We're the guys who can do it in a cost-efficient way, and then people can pay for it. There is not an infinite amount of money out there. So always look at the economy and of the cost efficiency of your buildings. So in the end, well, what happened for us? Yeah, it was a good ramp up, I would say. In 2007, we were able to take over. We just had, well, always a good, say, market situation, a lot of demand. But we were able to really get quite strong over the years with a big footprint in Europe now, and with 90 branch offices in 17 countries. I always say it's the mixture of being patient and stubborn. I know that especially in the Silicon Valley, it's quite hard to be patient. And I hope that there are some investors will also have this sort of, say, patient money approach, because most of them aren't. They're completely IRR driven. But in order to set up like a good IC startup that works, you just need time. You need experience. You need to make mistakes and then learn from your mistakes. And and then being stubborn, believe in your model, stick to it, improve it, and then eventually we'll be able to harvest on this approach. And of course, for us, it's also quite a good situation to be independent, because if we want to do some, say, innovative follies, we can just do it, and the stock market will not punish us for that. We can just do that and continue our way of thought. So thanks. I think we also, this has a massive potential, not like our business model, but everything which is connected to all those automation possibilities, fabrication possibility, robotic possibilities, life cycle possibilities, ESG possibilities. So if you saw that perfect storm in the beginning and now this nice outlook, I think for everybody in this room, this is just a great future, because it's really now is the time when technologies are starting to evolve, that you can really use them on site. And always never forget, they have to be used in every normal project. It's not about creating showcase situations. It's about implementing technologies in day-to-day construction life. And together, I think it's like a sort of ecosystem approach, where we have this responsibility also of tackling, especially like the sustainability challenge. And the more we work together, also between, well, so-called competitors, to go for like this co-opetition, whatever sort of thing, I think we will easily get the best results or get the fastest results. And we need fast results now. So just our invitation. I mean, we're Silicon Valley based now since 2 years and have our innovation team here. So you're all more than welcome to interact with us. We'll share our thoughts with Tim and Janis are here. So they're leading our team here. And yeah, I think if we sort of give our little piece of the mosaic in regard to the built world and to make this world somewhat better, I think that's something that gives you purpose. And I think now I finished my list of buzzwords. Thank you for listening.
Thanks. Yeah,